What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, he's dead, so...
He also has one of the largest, most established foundations on his own.
Yes.
Why would they ever set up a charitable trust benefiting Jeffrey Epstein?
Well,
what's the explanation?
not only does he have the world's largest charitable foundation, but one of their primary missions is to help young women in underprivileged countries.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
All right, this is huge. All of Bill Gates' lies about his connection to Epstein just got exposed, and reports are circulating that Gates is already making the moves to leave the country. Remember when Bill Gates claimed that he met with Epstein solely for philanthropic purposes? Well, does this look like philanthropy to you? These are the disturbing new photos released by the Oversight Committee, showing Gates with Epstein's alleged victims on Epstein's private jet, and even in a framed photo hanging in Epstein's mansion. Bill Gates repeatedly lied about his friendship with Epstein, claiming they didn't meet until 2011. But bombshell new evidence shows their connection goes way back to the 90s, and it all links to a woman named Melanie Walker who worked for Epstein before Gates hired her to work for his foundation. And there's even some speculation that Melanie was a honeypot sent by Epstein to collect information from Gates. But that's not all. Epstein also allegedly helped Gates cover up his affair with a young Russian, Mila Antonova. And all this happened before 2011 when Gates claims he met Epstein for the first time. Now, Bill Gates always seemed arrogant and creepy, but after these new Epstein leaks, people are saying he's an evil monster. On December 18th, the Oversight Committee released a second batch of photos from Epstein's estate, which includes new images with Bill Gates, often with young women whose faces are redacted or blurred. Some photos included passports and screenshots referencing payments for women. And one screenshot shows texts seemingly offering victims for sale, including one that says, "I have a friend scout, she sent me some girls today, but she asked for $1,000 per girl." But it gets creepier. These new files also include photos of women's body parts with quotes from the novel Lolita scribbled on them. And despite Bill Gates repeatedly claiming he had no friendship with Epstein, the newly leaked pictures show a framed photograph of Gates on Epstein's wall. Strange way to honor someone you have no relationship with. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Gates claimed he had no connection to Epstein before they met in 2011. However, the story actually starts all the way back in 1992, when Melanie Walker, a young neuroscientist, met Epstein in New York. Epstein allegedly offered Walker professional opportunities, and over the next few years, she worked as science advisor to Epstein, helping connect him to academics and researchers. And here's where the Gates connection comes in. In 2006, Bill Gates hired Melanie Walker as a senior program officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, are we really expected to believe that Bill Gates hired someone for a senior role without vetting them first? Walker was already a known associate of Epstein at the time, and her network could have been visible in her references, CV, or reputation in the science circles. Now let's talk about that first reported meeting in 2011. The most important thing to keep in mind about this meeting is that 3 years prior, Epstein was convicted of serious crimes. So this means that in 2011, Bill Gates was fully aware of who Epstein was, and he still agreed to meet with a convicted offender. That meeting reportedly took place in Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, and Gates later emailed his colleagues telling them that Epstein's lifestyle was intriguing. And after that first meeting, Gates continued to meet with Epstein. In fact, he met him just weeks later, in May 2011, this time with figures like JP Morgan executive James Staley, Bill Gates' science advisor Boris Nikolic, and former president of Harvard Larry Summers. Between 2012 and 2013, Gates met Epstein multiple times at Epstein's New York residence, and flight logs show Gates also flew on the Lolita Express in 2013. And then later that year, Gates and his now ex-wife, Melinda, visited Epstein's Upper East Side home together. Melinda later said she found the meeting extremely uncomfortable and confronted Bill about his friendship with Epstein. In fact, after Melinda filed for divorce in 2021, she admitted that Bill's connection to Epstein was one of the main reasons for the separation.
Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things.
but I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
And you made that clear to him.
I made that clear to him.
As for her meeting with Epstein, Melinda said she felt Epstein was evil and had nightmares about him.
I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, you know, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It was awful.
You felt that the moment you walked in. I didn't realize
was awful.
that. Yeah. And you shared that with Bill, and he still continued to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
But I made it very clear how I felt about him.
But see, a lot of people have said Melinda herself comes off a little shifty, because how would she know he was evil unless she saw some kind of criminal activity going on? And if she did see that, why didn't she report it? It's just bizarre to call someone evil personified after one casual meeting. Now going back to Bill and Epstein, by 2014, Epstein had pitched a so-called philanthropic fundraising project to Gates and JP Morgan Chase. The plan was for Gates to anchor a donor-advised fund, and Epstein would take a cut of whatever money got raised. However, the project never went anywhere. But something else, even more disturbing, happened in 2014. That year, Gates's personal engineer was arrested at his estate for trading this.
They found out that the man actually worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates mansion on the grounds of their sprawling 66,000 square foot estate, and that's where they found him and questioned him last March. 51-year-old Rick Allen Jones was questioned by detectives about images of child that were sent from Jones's home computer. Now, none of this alleged crime actually happened at the Gates mansion, but it was here that Rick Allen Jones admitted to detectives he collected child for about 10 years, sending images through his Gmail account. We also reached out to Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, and we did not hear back, so in fact, we do not know if he's been fired by the Gates' family.
This story was quickly scrubbed and disappeared from the media, but it's all coming back now. In fact, there are a lot of people who are now speculating that this engineer might have been just a fall guy. So after this incident, the meetings between Gates and Epstein's associates continued, although they were happening less frequently. But fast forward to 2017, and things start to get interesting. The newly released texts from the Epstein estate show that in 2017, Epstein messaged an advisor labeled only as Melanie, and metadata links this to Melanie Walker. In these messages, Epstein is talking about his meetings with Bill Gates, including one with Jared Kushner at the White House, and they even exchange ideas on topics like peace engagements in the Middle East. Melanie wrote to Epstein, not sure Bill Gates interested in peace process, mostly technologies, and Epstein replied, no peace, boring and not happening, grow up. One text also reads, BG meets with Trump, March 20th, 21st, clearly referencing Bill Gates' real meeting with Trump on March 21st, 2017. So by 2018 and 2019, journalists had finally started digging into Gates' link to Epstein. However, they all claimed that the meetings were philanthropic. But then, in the summer of 2019, something very convenient happened. Epstein was arrested on federal charges, and just 1 month later, he was found dead in his cell. This is when Bill Gates finally spoke out and called his meetings with Epstein a foolish mistake. However, he was clearly glad that Epstein was gone, thinking he was off the hook.
You continue to meet with him over several years. And that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so in general, you always have to be careful.
But unfortunately for Bill Gates, people didn't just forget about his Epstein